Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Hoops at Home. I'm excited to be joined today by Ben Krikke of the Valparaiso Crusaders, and originally from Edmonton, and makes his school year home now down in Indiana. So, Ben, thanks for taking a few minutes to come on today and talk about your first year as a Division I NCAA basketball player.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Coach.
Well, for a little bit of background, I was lucky enough to coach Ben when he was younger. I'm not going to say smaller because you've been tall since for as long as I've known you, but I was able to coach Ben for a little bit when he was the U15 age, playing on Team Alberta, and to see where you've gone and what you've been able to do with your basketball talents has been awesome. So we're proud of you, and we're excited to have a few minutes here to talk about your first season. So when you were looking at schools and deciding, where do I want to go? How does it fit for me? Why did you end up choosing Valparaiso?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, being from Western Canada, it's obviously tough to get out there and get your name out there and promote your game. So, I mean, my pool that I was picking from was a little bit smaller than most, I'd say. But I mean, things that were important to me is just like an all-around good experience. So that includes obviously the basketball, the culture, and the coaching. Because I mean, that's really important if you're going to join a program for 4 years or whatever, right? So you want to make sure every page and there's a level of trust and respect. And then third is just like a good school, and Valpo definitely checks all those boxes. So.
Yeah, I mean, my first exposure to them was when Bryce Drew hit the shot in the NCAA tournament many years ago. I grew up that, so Valpo's a school I've always known about, but it was cool to see that be an option for you and end up being your choice. So as you got there, what part of the state is it in Indiana? It's a little more rural, obviously. How close is it
It's
to
in
Indiana?
rural northwest Indiana, so just about 45-minute drive from Chicago.
Okay, so a little close to Chicago. Awesome.
Yep.
So when you're in the town and stuff, what are some of the cool spots in a college town like that? Is there some good restaurants? What are
Yeah, they got a
places?
ton of good restaurants, and I don't know, they just got a bunch going on for a smaller town. Fun little arcade spots and things like that me and a few teammates have gone to. And I think what makes it just exciting for me is everything's in close proximity. So you don't really need to drive. You can just kind of walk or take a couple-minute bus ride to wherever you need to go. So I think whether it be like the gym or, like you said, really cool restaurants. So they have a bunch of those.
Yeah, nice. So do you find that the town is really supportive and really? I'm guessing it's pretty big on the team, and you get good attendance at the games, and it's a real good basketball culture.
Yeah, of course. Being in Indiana, like it's the Hoosier state, right? So they got all kinds of fans coming out, and some really loyal fans who have been there for a very long time. So yeah, they've stuck with the team through the ups and downs, and it's really good to have great attendance.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad you're getting that true college basketball experience that you can get in those, again, states that love basketball and make it a priority. It's really cool that you're getting to experience that. So as you transition from playing in Canada down to the U.S., there's obviously a few differences in style of play, rules you got to adjust to a little bit. Tell me kind of what you found some of the biggest differences to be playing the NCAA as opposed to Canada.
Yeah, I think so. The main difference for me, just coming from playing a lot of FIBA basketball, would be just like the size and the speed of the players. So, I mean, there's some really big guys in the conference, and everybody's really fast, right? So it's a really quick pace of play and transition, but then it also just kind of slows down with the 30-second shot clock, which is another thing I've had to adjust to, just a longer shot clock and a narrow key. So the post game is really prevalent still in the game down there. And, at my size, like I'm tall, but I still got to work on the strength part of things. So I had to adjust to that for sure. And yeah, other than that, it's just moving my feet and just trying to keep up with the quick guards in the league.
Yeah. Well, I imagine in a conference like Missouri Valley, there's more 3-4 year guys. There's a lot less one and done. So guys are experienced, older, tougher, and all those kind of things you have to deal with when you come in as a freshman.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's a daily routine like for you once season hits, and how does it work between class and weights and film? practice, travel? How does that all look for you?
Yeah, so I think we have a pretty decent schedule. So I just wake up, either shoot before class or just go eat breakfast and go to class. And I take care of all my classes in the morning. So I finish around noon, and then get about 45 minutes to an hour break, and then head over to weights. And then after about an hour of weights, we get into the film room a little bit and go over the practice plan and things like that. And then we practice for about 2.5 hours, sometimes 3. So it can be a little extensive, but it's pretty fun. And then after that, after practice, there's an option for treatment or extra work, which I like to get into. So maybe 45 minutes of that. And then the rest of the night, we got a study hall right after we eat supper. So it's definitely a busy schedule. There's not much to do besides school and basketball, but yeah, that's why they call it being a student athlete, I guess, right? So,
that is the goal that they're trying to achieve there, is have you.
yep.
What would you say is the area you feel you've grown the most in, being away from home and experiencing being a Division I athlete? What do you think is taking the biggest leap forward for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like off the court, for example, I'd say just being a little bit more independent. I need to take care of a lot of things. Nobody's hovering over my back, making sure I do the school and everything. So just accountability to myself and the school with the work and everything. And then on the court, this year I've worked a lot on my shot. So, just getting the footwork down and trying to improve in that area. Beginning of the season, I didn't get off to a great start shooting the ball. It was low 20%. And then, I had to get in extra work and bring it up near 40. So definitely I'd say shooting.
Okay, that's awesome. No, again, you've always had a bit of range, but it's nice to see you continuing to work to expand that and make yourself more of a weapon for your team. When you guys go to travel, is there a lot of long bus trips? Are you guys getting flights? How's it working when you are heading for those away games?
Yeah, for the further away games like Iowa, Northern Iowa, we charter a flight, but most of the other trips are just longer bus rides. So it's a lot of time to try and get your schoolwork done on a bus, which isn't always easy. And then, yeah, it's just not too fun having to travel, and then your legs are all sore and everything. But that's the way it goes. So,
what's the longest trip you guys had to make this year on the bus?
I think it was probably St. Louis. We actually headed down there twice. Once at the beginning of the season to play, who was it? St. Louis University, and then obviously down for the conference tournament. So I think that's around 5 hours, 5.5 maybe.
Oh, okay, so that's not too bad. That's not too bad for us here. When coaching ACAC, it's Fort McMurray is our 5-hour
right
5-hour trip. Yeah, we leave at like 7:30 a.m. We're up there just afternoon. It's not too bad. So I don't feel too bad for you. So yeah, ours are all bus rides. So no, that's cool. I think there's probably some misconceptions that you guys are flying all over the place and it's big and fancy. It's just like everywhere else. You're still grinding a little bit. And yes, you got some nice facilities. You've got a lot of time to work and improve yourselves, but there's still some get on the bus and let's go, boys. Mentality to it. So started to touch on your season a little bit. Said you were struggling early on, but again, when I look at the numbers you had this season, I think you really came on and started to have some great games. So averaging almost 7 points and 3 rebounds a game, and by my count, had 9 games where you scored in double figures for your team. Tell me about how you became more comfortable and found a fit on the court with your teammates and were able to start to have more success.
Yeah, so like you said, at the beginning of the season, it took a while for me to adjust. So I think the process of adjusting just comes through practice and reps. And then the more reps you get, the more confidence you have. So I was in the gym day and night and just trying to work things out. And I wanted to contribute to the team, obviously my freshman year. So I just had to put in the work. And, practice just comes with coaching and great teammates who were just pushing me day in and day out. So that definitely helped. And then, the results showed themselves later in the season, started having some good games. So, yeah, just say work hard and just be willing to ask questions, talking to coaches and just being transparent, right? So they're there to help. So
that's great. We're going to have Coach Gore on our Hoops Hangout series here later in the month. So I've talked to him a few times. Seems like a great guy. Said he works with you
Yep.
quite a bit. So we're excited to hear, from him and how he's made you into the awesome guy that you are down there. But no, I think you're 100% right. You have to put in the work, whether it's on your own with a coach, in the weight room with film. The work has to happen. It doesn't. You don't just magically get better overnight.
Yep.
So you guys kind of, wins and losses kind of even, and then you head into the Missouri Valley Conference tournament, and you guys go on a pretty good run and get to the Missouri Valley final against Bradley. Tell me from your perspective. I was lucky enough to be able to watch that game. It was on the CBS up here, and we got to see you out there. Tell me from your perspective how that game went. And I mean, obviously, ended up being a disappointing loss for you guys. But what was your experience like, and how did that game go for you?
Yeah, I mean, the whole conference tournament was a lot of fun. I don't think any team that's played on the Thursday has ended up in the final, so that was really special for us. And just that last game, Bradley's a really talented team. They got some really good senior guards with some experience. I think they won the conference a couple years ago, or actually might have been previous season. So they obviously were experienced, and they're a tough team. We split our regular season record 1-1. So we know what we had to do, but I think it was a little bit exhausting for us to play four days in a row. But I mean, we gave them a good fight. We were there right with them, and then they just pulled out late in the second half. So, and then for me, I think it took me a while to get going in that game. To get the legs back and everything, and I tried to give all that I could. I went on a little run in the second half.
I think I remember you had your own personal 5-0 run there early in the second half that helped vault you guys back into the lead, and it was looking good. I was excited that you guys were trending the right way in that second half.
Yep, and then they just pulled away, which was tough, but I think we gave them a really good game, so it was a lot of fun.
And obviously, with the coronavirus setting in, you guys weren't able to go to a postseason tournament. You guys have been invited, you said, to the CIT.
Yeah.
Tell people a little bit about what that is and where you guys were going to be headed.
Yeah, so I think it's actually called the College Invitational Tournament or Collegiate or something. So I actually don't know a lot about it, but we were just excited to get some more games under our belt and hopefully get a 20-win season. So, and our seniors wanted to keep playing, and I think some of the team wanted to just get on with training and focus on next year. But I think we were all excited to get a little bit more game experience. But unfortunately, like you said, it was cut short. So, I mean, what can you do, I guess? But.
Yeah, we're all having to respond and deal with this situation that I don't think any of us ever expected or planned on having to deal with, especially from a basketball perspective. Just not being able to even go to a gym is tough. How is the team coming together for next year for you guys? What's the story on recruiting and how are you guys looking heading into next season?
Yeah, so unfortunately we lost Javon Freeman, who's transferring to DePaul, which is unfortunate. But the margins are so thin, so the team's just as talented, and we have a great group of guys. We got some really talented freshmen coming in, and we're looking good. The season ended on a good run, and we're just looking to expand on that and just keep winning. We're going to be a group that's a year older and a year more experienced, so I'm really looking forward to it.
That's awesome. We're hopeful that season will get to start on time and you guys will be able to play, whether it's in front of some fans or hopefully more fans, and that everything continues to improve. What would you, as someone from Edmonton, where, like you said, you did have to get your name out there and work hard to find an opportunity at the Division I level. What advice would you give to people who are you, but 5 years ago and are looking to go on that journey? What advice would you give to help them to get to where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, just put in the work, and it comes in every different aspect, right? So if you want to be a collegiate athlete, you got to take care of the classroom first and foremost, and then just put in the work day and night in the gym, early in the morning, after practice, whenever you can get in a gym. And maybe you don't even get in a gym, maybe it's just outside on a hoop or at an outdoor court at a school or something like that. You just got to get the reps in and just fine tune your game and just get that confidence. And you just got to promote yourself as much as you can. Just be willing to take risks. So when I was first trying out for the Team Alberta U15, I was underage and I had no idea how I was going to go. I was never exposed to any provincial team, anything before. And I just went and just gave it my best shot, and that just led into 4 good years with the program, which eventually halfway led me into the Team Canada, and that just got my name out there. So it was, the combination of hard work, but also just being willing to take risks.
I completely agree. And then you challenged yourself, and you gave yourself an opportunity to compete against better players, again, at a local stage, a national stage, and then an international stage, as you said. And it's definitely all of those factors combined, I think, helped get you to where you were. So what are you doing right now to stay in shape, and any advice you could offer some players now of things they could do to stay in shape and stay ready for the time where we can either get back on some outdoor courts or get back in our gyms?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot that can be done. Maybe people don't have access to a weight room or a gym or anything like that, but there's certainly non-traditional ways of training that are just as effective. So, I mean, I go on some pretty long bike rides a few times a week just to get the cardio and just work out in my basement. I don't really have any equipment, but you can do a lot with just body weight. So a ton of push-ups, sit-ups, things like that. I've researched a lot of different things to do on YouTube, and I was happy enough to get a little program from my trainer back in Valpo. So, but most of them are just body weight exercises and things like that, and just get out for a run or something. And then in terms of basketball, like I have a ball at home, and I got a driveway. So it's just a lot of dribbling and things like that. I'm also lucky enough to have a hoop. So just get as many reps with my sister as possible, and just try to make some improvements, even though it's really tough at this time. But yeah.
Now, the one-on-one games with your sister, is there any quarter given, or do you still find the need to dominate and make sure that she knows her place in the line in the Krikke family?
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going pretty easy. If you asked her, I think she'd be pretty upset with me. But yeah, no, it's fun. It's better than nothing. So we're getting to work.
No, that's awesome. Have you one last question? Have you had a chance to watch any of The Last Dance yet? And taken any of the
for
boys?
sure. Me and my dad watch that every week. So it's been definitely interesting because I'm too young to watch them, but I've done a lot of research on them, and even in my research, there's a lot of things that I didn't find out about, the front office and everything like that. So, I mean, it's definitely been eye-opening and a really interesting and an inspirational documentary for sure.
Yeah, I definitely, again, as someone who, when I turned 8 years old and was really starting to play, that was 1990, and that's when the Bulls were just starting to win. And so my entire youth of basketball was Jordan and the Bulls winning championships. And so and my favorite player will always be Michael Jordan, and I'm just loving this and eating up every second. I think the big thing, again, I talk about the inspiration, the big thing I'm taking away from it is that the friction creates fire too. Like, it's clear that not everybody was friends, and that it was difficult at times, and there were so many factors, and front office not always getting along with players or coaches, and players not getting along with players. But when push came to shove, they were there to compete and they were there to win. And that friction challenged them, and it pushed them, and it made them better. So you don't necessarily need to be afraid of those things. We always need to work to have great camaraderie on our teams, but it can also generate a lot of greatness from when things get hard and people rising to those challenges. So.
Yeah, and competition isn't cute. You really got to work for it, and sometimes the tensions get a little overboiled. But yeah,
absolutely. Anytime you have that competitive environment, like. And they're talking about Jordan's gambling a little bit, and he's like, I don't have a gambling problem, I have a competition problem. And yes, I think there's many people in the NBA that would attest to that that was exactly the problem they faced with Jordan, and they were usually on the losing end of it. So,
yeah.
Well, Ben, thank you for taking the time, and we're excited and proud of you for what you've accomplished, and we hope that we get to see you again real soon on the court. So thanks again for the time, man, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Ben.
Bye.